father of three, at least that I know of. A husband of one, that I know. I relax by doing sports, keeping my golden retriever, keeping my golden retriever busy fetching stuff. Otherwise, my wife tells me to fetch stuff. Started and spent most of my career in Unilever, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Shanghai, at one time looking after Asia, Africa, Latin America. It was a difficult part of my life where I was literally living out of a suitcase, and the suitcase was in the corner of the room. All I had to do really was to replenish the dirty laundry so that, when the time comes to fly, it is ready to go. Came back to the Philippines, hoping I could contribute in our own modest way, also hoping that our kids could learn what it is to be a Filipino and to speak Tagalog. I don't know if I was successful. Worked for NutriAsia and then joined Smart, asking people to live more. And now leading Mediaquest, a holding company which owns a variety of media assets, TV5, Cignal, #1 pay TV, TV5 soon to be, 251. And I'm also looking after the Convergence Group in PLDT and Smart, which basically looks after how we could serve the way people consume media today, which is basically across different screens. And in the end, the assets that the company has allow us to do that very well. I took the opportunity to accept this engagement as it helped me pause for a moment and revisit my own learning in my own little leadership journey. I've always believed that you learn most by sharing, or sometimes you teach most what you need to learn most. And therefore, in as much as I'm imparting to you, I'm actually sucking up learning as well. I also knew that it was time for me to take a chance. Next slide, please. It's a good timing because last week only, I sent and settled my son into school abroad. And I thought it was a good time for me to take a chance to impart old school learning as applied to today's world. As my son starts his own journey, as he takes his business course and starts the rest of his life. During that trip, I had a friend who's Indian, lives in Canada, asked me what it was I wished for my son when he finished his business degree. Quickly I said, my quick answer was, I hope he changes the world. My friend quickly changed the topic. As I realized that was most of us, if not all of us, next slide please, want to change the world. It is clearly a scary thought. I thought of using a Steve Jobs, Mother Teresa quote, but I thought it'd be cool and use John Lennon for this session. Two thoughts here. By giving advice to my son for the rest of his life, I was trying my best to stay relevant in his life as he begins his life away from us. And that's a key word, relevance, because it's true in life as it is true in business. As business leaders, it is our job to future-proof our businesses in order that our business, our services, our products stay relevant in people's lives. For those of you, everybody know Fortune 500? When do you think Fortune 500 started? Anybody know? Come on, give me a guess. 1955, actually. Fortune 500, the first list of Fortune 500 started, there's some, no, it's okay. It started in 1955. And can you make a guess of the original list in the Fortune 500? How many companies are left in that original list? I'll give a prize, a starring role in a telenovela. If you guess it. It's not that bad. Actually, 70, next slide please, 70 companies. Where's the Fortune 500? Okay, only 70 companies out of the original 500 companies in 1955 remain today in the list. One explanation for this is that most of the dropouts perhaps have failed to future-proof their companies and stay relevant in people's lives. Or better yet, new generations of companies have emerged and have succeeded in somehow changing the world, which then took the place of the original 500, 430 from the original list, right? Next slide, please. Always we find ourselves using the phrase 2020 hindsight, right? Without realizing, who uses 2020 hindsight? Come on, guys. Without realizing that hindsight is always 2020, right? Because if hindsight is not 2020, you have a very big problem, right? But instead of using 2020 hindsight, every business leader, or every leader for that matter, I think should use 2020 vision, or should strive for 2020 vision. Leadership jobs, the leadership job is to bridge and define the paradigm gap that takes you from the present to the future tense. That's what it is. That's why not everybody could be a leader, because it takes somebody to actually identify that paradigm gap that makes a leap. That's why out of the 500, only 70 companies are left in that big list of the biggest companies in the world. In my visioning exercises with my teams, in my leadership journey, I always ask my team to start the visioning by starting the story of your future, which sounds a little bit funny, right? How can you start, how do you write the story of your future, which is really all about visioning, which is really all about what leadership is all about. Therefore, what is useful for leadership is to create a powerful vision and context and thousands of small actions that, and subconsciously, you will drive towards your desired destination one small action at a time. I call it folding the future in. Create a future for yourself, fold it in, and create the steps necessary for you and your organization and yourself to finally reach the destination one day. Hopefully, for the sake of the world, leaders use this to help make change the world for the better. Unfortunately, as we all know, this is not true. Next slide, please. If you remember, for those of you old enough to remember, of course, all of you are old enough to remember, in 2008, Wall Street destroyed 34 trillion of wealth and sent 27 million people around the world to the streets jobless. This is as a result of business innovation that was destructive and deceitful. My professor in MIT, Peter Senge, have imparted to me that business has the power and resources to be a force of good. Next slide, please. That each business, to be sustainable, should contribute to continuous development of human capital and merge the agendas of economic progress, societal change, and environment protection for it to be relevant for the future. That vision should allow you to see beyond what is obvious, what is visible, and what is not visible. In the Wall Street example earlier, it is clear that whatever vision Wall Street had was far limited to making money, more money, and often from nothing. And this led to the crash. In my journey as a leader, I have kept following the following guidelines to ensure that I and my company continue to be relevant and ready for the future. Being authentic, living your values. I think the gentleman who went before me spoke about values. Inspire, be a force of positive change. Be a student of life, this is my favorite. Make the world your classroom. I keep asking people, when you eat in a restaurant, do you eat inside or al fresco? I think there's a reason why people eat al fresco. It's because they want to see life before them. And you learn. My wife and I, whom Richard, my beautiful wife and I, whom Richard spoke about earlier, often make stories about people we see, because you learn from it, right? I was telling people in Unilever, when we were doing close-up, a toothpaste that talks about romance, I was saying, how can you talk about or advertise romance when you haven't experienced it yourself? How can you talk about the thrill of riding a roller coaster if you haven't experienced it yourself? Believe and work towards something bigger than yourself. Get out of your comfort zone, stretch. And again, going back to how this talk started, future-proof yourself in your organization. It's all about staying relevant. I just lost my... So I go back to each value one by one, and just let me just give you a few examples of how I've lived this. Being authentic, living your values. Let your values be your compass, your true north. This makes you authentic as a leader. Values often reflect on the overall corporate culture and eventually halo on the products and services we offer to consumers. Apart from the product, consumers of today buy into the values of the company. Remember that, because of social media, people actually take a look, which product, which company do these products come from? Do I believe in their values? I once stopped buying my favorite sporting goods brand because I learned they were reported to be using child labor in developing countries. I also stopped using this personal care face moisturizer after I learned that they were doing animal testing. So what use is having a nice, smooth face if your golden retriever feels bad that you've actually used a product that you used animal testing? The second point, being an inspiration and a force for positive change, which is really what every leader should do. The best leaders I know derive their influence and presence from a clear positive influence even when not physically on the premise. And that's when you really see a good leader. Even when he's not there, the culture speaks for the values of that leader or the positive influence of that leader. Mostly it's what you stand for, your values that drive this. Therefore, it drives the people towards the right direction and in the right path. It provides an unexplained inspiration and energy for the people in the company or in the group that you lead. There was this case study I had in China of a successful advertising agency where I witnessed leadership change, one leadership change. The first one was a British gentleman who moved the agency towards great heights, and he finally had to move back to the UK. Then he was replaced by a Taiwanese American. And during that time, the business went from very successful to not successful. And I asked the people, what's the difference? Because at some point, you have to use the momentum of the success of the previous regime to actually use it to build further success. What did this British guy do differently or specially? And he goes, nothing really. All he did really was every morning he went around the room, going to every cubicle saying, how are you? Do you have a joke today? Good luck on the presentation, so forth and so on. And it's inspired everybody to actually create an atmosphere of performance because it was just, the atmosphere was really great. Came in the Taiwanese American, who was an accountant, nothing against accountants, and he started looking at every line, every expense, everything, and for some reason that didn't work, right? He wasn't doing the wrong thing, except that at that particular point in time, when you have a very successful business on momentum, perhaps it's the last thing that you should do, right? Both good guys, different styles, one successful, one was not. The next point, being a student of life and make the world your classroom. This is my favorite. Back when I was looking after the oral category, there's a lady from Unilever here, she probably knows, for Asia and Africa, for Unilever. I would take my team on journeys where we use historical sites around Asia to actually write our vision. We use Borobudur, which is the oldest Buddhist monument in the world, Angkor Wat. There's a place called Sigiriya in Sri Lanka. And all we do is take hikes, miles and miles and miles. Like in Borobudur, you go up early in the morning, catch the sunrise, and write your vision. It was so inspiring that one of my guys, catch the sunrise and write your vision. It was so inspiring that one of my guys, who was Filipino, because the team was multicultural, Australian, Italian, Indonesian, Filipino, Kiwi, Australian. One Filipino, because Nirvana, Borobudur is the story of Buddha. So at each level is a story in his life. At the top is Nirvana. At the fourth level, this Filipino guy was so inspired, he started singing. He was from Ateneo. I don't know what it is about Ateneans that They start singing when they... You need to create a compelling vision, they need to be inspired. So, going back to the story, we use backdrops in Asia as a venue for inspiration and vision setting. And we use the time to actually spend time with the villagers, with people. We spend time with people in Sri Lanka living in houses made of cow dung. Can you imagine that? But they use the products. We need to spend time with them and live their lives, learn about their dreams, generate the right insight, in order that we're able to innovate our products. And one such opportunity was to spend a few days with rural South Asian men who actually brush their teeth once only, and it's in the morning. And the reason being was that they go to town looking for jobs or probably working, and they actually clean and brush their teeth in the morning so that they're confident when they face their employers, they face their clients, so forth and so on. They never find a reason to brush at night. I hope, for the sake of oral care, everybody in this room brush at least twice a day. The right thing to do at least is brush twice a day. And South Asia is a huge market, and we saw the opportunity to actually create a product, create an educational campaign that encourages people to brush at night, which means twice a day. Because if you don't know, acid attack happens most at night, and that's when cavities happen, right? We tested it in an area, people responded to the educational campaign, we spread it, we launched it widespread in South Asia. As a result, the business grew by 25%. So doing good led to business growth. Without spending time in the villages and the people and walking the streets, we would never have had that strength of insight that led to the benefit for consumers in our business. So what you do eventually leads to business success. And we continue doing this, spending time in the villages of Jakarta, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Nigeria, and in each area we lived the life of consumers that not only changed the way we saw the business, but also changed the way we saw our lives. It changed the lives of team members. The Asian team went, at least the Asian business and its teammates went from a -2 declining state to a +12, if I remember right. And all we did really was be a student of life and making the world our classroom. Believing and working towards something bigger than yourselves. Is that hard to believe? Sometimes. In its most basic form, it's about ego. It's about not letting your ego get in the way of your own people in the business progress. My favorite line is, you hire an IQ, you fire on EQ, right? Because you never are able to pick up EQ during an interview. But you should not let your ego get in the way of your people, the business progress, and in the larger scale of things, it's about using resources of your business to bring about something good, for it to have purpose, stand for something, a point of view, which eventually should lead to success. I know for a fact that most successful companies or businesses stand for something other than making money. Financial success is a result of businesses being relevant to the people and the institution it serves. It could be for well-being, saving the environment, building human capital, or national pride. In TV5, we embark on a vision for news and public affairs that goes, Bayan pinayaman ng karunungan. In English, a nation enriched by knowledge. Which basically said, we need to stop showing poverty porn because it is so prevalent in this country. What we need to do is raise up the pride of the country and seek what is possible for us to succeed as a people. We embark on shows like Big Time, which basically showcases small-time entrepreneurs who became big-time entrepreneurs and their lessons. We also have a show called Kaya. For the foreigners here, Kaya means can do, which basically talks about if you only put our mind to it, we could do it, rather than feeling sorry for ourselves and feeling like victims. In advertising, I always ask my team, if you could change the world in 30 seconds, would you do it? And sometimes when I ask advertisers that question, there's a silence in the room. Of course you could do it. Sometime back in 2005, let me just tell you the story and please bear with me. We were doing Surf for Unilever. Surf was a market leader, except that it was a 40% discounted brand, right? And we talked, Julina knows this, we asked the research company to search for loyal surf users. Sorry, we wanted to study the competitor. I won't mention the name, which is a premium brand. And they said, search for loyal premium competitor users. Loyal. When I was reading the report, I found out that these people use the premium brand twice in a week. Filipinos use sachets, which meant that they use one sachet every day. So twice a week, which meant that they use surf 5 days in a week. And I go, I thought they were loyal premium brand users. Why are they using it twice a week in 7 days? And I realized they were ashamed. They were not proud to be using a discounted brand, right? This is the market leader, and yet people were not proud to use it only because it was discounted by 40%. So we embarked on a campaign, a 30-second commercial that basically spoke of pride. A laundry detergent, speaking about pride. The insight is basically, go out there, earn an honest living, and let surf take care of the dirt in your clothes. And the campaign was basically a collage of hardworking people, and I'll say it in English with captions like, it doesn't matter if my clothes are dusty, so long as I'm working hard. It doesn't matter. Then we show a group of women in the marketplace, wet market, saying it doesn't matter if our clothes are bloody because of butchering, so long as we're happy together. It doesn't matter if, and then there's a farmer, if my clothes are muddy, so long as it's honest work. So the 30-second ad is basically talking about values. It actually reacted to the fact that why are you ashamed of using a discount product? In 1 year, Surf took on increased market share by 700 basis points, grew by 25%, and the competitor dived another 700 basis points. We weren't selling cleanliness, we were selling values, right? And that's the power of media and advertising. You have money, you have the power to influence through your words. And if you had a chance to change the world in 30 seconds, would you do it? I would. All of this require getting out of your, where was I? Okay, getting out of your comfort zone. I believe this is more than just trying out new things for yourself. And apart from taking risks, it's really about creating relevance for yourself in the new economy where the currency has shifted. From learning a skill to lifelong learning, from job security to job risk taking, from job preservation to job creation, from preserving status quo to embracing the speed of change. As they say, change will never be this fast, this slow again. All of these require getting out of your comfort zone and making yourself and your business relevant for the future. You see, moving my family and working in China at a time of great change, when it was moving from a communist state to the creation of its own brand of capitalism, provided both huge anxiety and excitement for us and myself. Sitting in an old traditional Chinese corporate boardroom, I thought it completed my transformation from a boy to a man. We bought a joint venture in China. The board of directors were like in their 50s. I was 30 years old. And this sales director was saying, pardon my French, bullshit after bullshit. And I said it because I had the translator beside me. And she translated what I said to the boardroom. You can imagine how quiet the boardroom was. And then I realized that, it was time to actually grow up, right? It is time to actually allow yourself to immerse yourself in different cultures. The ability to actually work with different cultures with only one goal in mind, which is for the business to succeed. My move from being an established international FMCG person to telco, which I knew nothing about prior, now basking in the exciting world of media and content and intrigue, has provided me immense learning and makes me feel alive every day. That's true. And of course, lastly, which is really beginning or ending with the beginning, and what this talk is all about. I've always believed that the job of leadership is to future-proof themselves and the organizations they serve in and the institutions they actually serve, in order that it remains relevant to the society at large. In summary, these are my 6 leadership learning I've always held on in my journey as my leader. And let me end with this thought. The future is a matter of choice. Make it yours. Thank you very much.